Welcome to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I'm your host, Lisa Huff. Over the last 5 years, I've coached hundreds of hairstylists and beauty industry professionals, helping them work their dream schedules exclusively with their dream clientele and earn their dream income, all while fostering genuine connections and lifelong friendships inside the beauty industry. In this podcast, we dive deep into abundance, manifestation, business building strategies, and creating a life that you are truly proud of, both behind the chair and at home. Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal growth, success, and sisterhood? Then hit that subscribe button now and get ready to experience the pure magic of Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I'm not sure what order these podcast episodes are going out. We're just batching right now. But Leisha and I are here at Yoga Lab again in the podcast recording studio, just trying to bang out a few while we're here in person together and not doing it on Zoom. So we don't have much of a script for this episode, but I wonder how often we'll do this. Maybe it'll be monthly, quarterly, biannually. Who knows how often we'll do this? But I think for this podcast episode specifically, we just want to kind of talk about things that we're seeing come up in the industry, specifically probably Soul Tribe, because that's really the world that we're in. And there was just a few things that we were actually here a couple weeks ago just working together, and we had like a deep dive conversation on a lot of these things, and we were like, shit, if the mic was set up, like that would have been a good podcast episode. So we're going to kind of just chat. I don't know what direction this is going to go in. I don't know how long it's going to take. But I figured while we're together, we may as well get an episode batch, and I think this is just really relevant to a lot of stylists right now. So hopefully if it lands for you, it's what you needed, and if it's not affecting you right now, please don't take it on. But this is what we have found a lot of people have had going on in their world. So first thing, I have a few things written down. First thing that we want to talk about is education overload. We've been hearing a lot of people say that for a long time, and it's hard because here I am over here like a form of education, you know, and so like you want to provide for people, but also this unique situation that I'm in where I get to talk to so many stylists. Education overload has been big for a while. So what are your thoughts on education overload?
Yeah, so I feel like especially lately, it's like we're all kind of finding almost like, it's like we all need this side gig, or sometimes we're looking for like that what's next and things. And so it's like I see a lot of people who you can tell they have taken a course and then it's just like wash, rinse, repeat on their pages or just, you know, whatever they're trying to build. And so it just kind of feels like it's gotten so loud and like, but all of the messages feel almost the same. And that's where it's like just feels a little, I don't know. I
want to say that, I like this, everything we're about to talk about, I want to say with so much empathy, because you guys, I have been there. Like I have been in that position of like, I want something new. I love helping stylists. I want to show up in a way that I can help stylists. So I have so much empathy for the people that I see doing this. Like, get it. I love that. Keep finding your thing. But what we were talking about specifically a couple weeks ago is just, and this kind of leads into, we also have social media burnout on here, is I just feel like for the last, it's been a little while now, it just feels like everyone and their mom is educating in some way, shape, or form. Again, not judging that. I'm out here trying to do it too, doing what I love. But it does almost feel like it's like we've gotten to a time where online educators are teaching you how to become an online educator, and that everything that you're hearing and seeing is just like a regurgitated version of the same thing of what other people are saying. And then I think it's also the stylist perspective, and this is something I've been changed my perspective around it so much when I started to learn it, is like pain point marketing. It works. Like I understand what pain point marketing it is. We all do it. We just talked about the traveling hairstylists. We talked about all these pain points. Like it is a real thing. But then I think there's these stylists who get on Instagram and have been getting on Instagram for the last, probably since COVID, fair to say, right? And it's like all these pain points are just being like shoved down their throat, and it's like creating a mental health issue because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have exactly everything how it's supposed to be. I don't have this like business. I mean, literally these all three go together. We had three things written down.
It really does.
It was education overload, expectations, and social media burnout. And what I've felt, and Leisha said she's felt the same, and we have this conversation a lot in Soul Tribe, is just everybody being yelled at from all different directions of like, you're doing this wrong, or you need to implement this strategy and these steps to have the after. And like, once I read Building a Story Brand, Marketing Made Simple, I've taken these courses of like how to sell online things, which you need to know how to do that. It's so easy for me to identify it. And I think so many people take on pain points that they didn't even have originally. Because they've been getting on Instagram month after month after month. And every educator under the sun, again, no shade to anybody, is telling them you're doing this wrong, or it's supposed to feel like this. And then when it doesn't, they're left like, what's wrong with me? I'm not hitting all these goals or doing all these things like everybody says I'm supposed to be doing. And I just want to shine a light on that, because it's fucking with people's heads a lot.
Well, I think there's like just there's amazing educators out there who also happen to be like amazing marketers. But I think sometimes like the problem is like, you're kind of speaking to a whole platform, and there's so many people who I think just feel, and it probably especially honestly coming off of like everything that our industry went through just with like COVID and pandemic and dealing with that and business and like this lack of like security, we almost feel like, I think a lot of people got into this like headspace where they just feel lost. And so these people that obviously like are marketing something, it's like you start hearing that and you're like, oh, that's me, or oh, I have that problem, but it's like sometimes when you look at the bigger picture
before you even heard that,
it's like actually maybe not. So it is kind of like, it can be hard to be so aware in those moments, but I think it is kind of like trying to develop a really good self-awareness of like where you're at, where your business is at, just so that you're able to like, I think just tune out what you need and tune out what you don't. And it's okay to not need everything or certain things.
And I think maybe like, because it's like, we just say it and it's like, okay, this is happening, what do we do about it? But I think awareness is like step one, and what I would just encourage people who are really feeling that, because again, I don't think any of these stylists that are doing this should stop doing it. Like, if I empathize with anybody, it's like, I want to get out from behind the chair. I want to start doing something different. I'm feeling called to something bigger. I know that feeling so strong. But I think for stylists specifically, like, what I would really encourage you to ask yourself when you're falling down the funnel of somebody's marketing is, was this a solution I was seeking out before this program was put in my face? And how many times is the answer no? Sometimes it lands spot on. Yes, you need this. Love that you found the right thing at the right time. But I think so many people, if you really paused and asked yourself, are these even problems that I'm facing, that I'm seeking solutions for? Or is this person just making me feel something? You know, because honestly, that's what it is sometimes. And again, I get it. Like, I don't even want to say fall victim to it, because I'm obsessed with educating myself. And like, I'm obsessed with finding mentors and learning from other people. But I just feel like it's the mental health side of it. There are so many stylists that are just like, I don't know what to do with myself. Or again, we'll turn on to expectations. We'll keep, identity private. But where there was somebody in Soul Tribe who has been struggling, and her business isn't going super well, which we all have lulls, and she's just feeling like she's not making the money she's supposed to, she's not getting the clients she wants to get, all of these things, and like we're trying to pour into her. And I think so much of it, not that I just want to like be woo and say everything comes back to mindset, but I could hear so many things that she was saying that I'm like, I think expectations is the problem here. Like, she would say, oh, I just need to keep trying this out, and eventually something will click and it will be easy and I'll have my like big break. And I think if you've listened to the Traveling Hairstylist episode, again, I don't know what order these are going to come out at, we've talked about like, you guys, I'm 5 years into this. I've created something I think is really amazing and really beautiful. It is a legitimate like self-sustaining business at this point. Nothing has clicked yet. Like, I'm still trying. We get on a weekly call and I'm still like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, that's just how it works.
Yeah. And I think with like having these certain expectations, because it's not to say that I've not myself invested in something that I feel like did really transform my business. I've also invested in things that didn't transform my business. So it's like it does go on both sides, but I think it is kind of being able to assess whether, like, with certain expectations, sometimes it does take finding the right mentor, the right, focus of something to dive deeper into something. But sometimes, and this is when it's the hardest, it takes you almost stepping completely back. And it's really scary to think of that, because when you're in a mindset, or just even a space of like with your business where you feel like you're like, no, I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing. Something's going to work eventually. It feels almost like the opposite kind of advice to expect to be like, no, like you're too in deep and you need to like you literally said this to me like not that long ago. Yeah. Like you need to like walk a couple steps back, zoom out. Yeah. And almost like, it's almost like recheck in with yourself in those moments. Because in a weird way, and it's like it never makes sense, and even when you're the person who's receiving this like information, you're like, what? Like that doesn't make like, and you know, maybe some of it is like from the hustle culture, I don't know, but it is so crazy how it can kind of feel like that's exactly what we can need sometimes. Not every time, but sometimes, it's hard to see from the outside what's happening, or to like, you know, almost even kind of like not let yourself overdo things, overthink on things, because it's so easy to do that. And I think that's when we can kind of almost get too deep into that.
And that's why I'm such a big fan of white space, because I feel like when you get so engulfed into programs, different cultures, these almost like kind of culty mentalities where everyone's thinking the same thing, saying the same thing. You don't even sometimes know what your own thoughts are. Like you've been hearing other people's thoughts for so long that there is power in just like stepping away, like, wait a minute, let me check in with me. What do I think about this situation? How do I actually feel? Is this actually something that I'm dealing with? Or am I absorbing the stress of what other people are dealing with and taking it on as my own? And so it's like, obviously I'm out here like trying to connect everybody, and that is like my sole purpose, but it would be irresponsible to not touch on the effects that can have, and how there needs to be moderation to it. And like a self, and I feel like me and Kristen even talked about this a little bit in our podcast episode, like mentors are great, your guru, whatever is great, but like your intuition and your knowing has to be the driving force. And I know that's really hard for a lot of people because they've never felt in touch with that. And then of course there's a program teaching you how to like get in touch with that. Like it's just it's so hard to even talk about, because it's like, what is the solution? But I just think shining a light on it and talking about it is important, because I know we're all just feeling it and we're like, what is going on? Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if it's almost like a result too of like even just like the influencer culture, where it's like you see so much of, you know, different stylists or even just different influencers as a whole. And we sort of like take on indirectly almost that persona, their struggles, like the things that they're doing. And I think something that I've always really respected of you and other educators too is like, I think one thing that can kind of be almost like a little bit of a defining difference is when you are going into education and like, or mentorship or anything like that, I think like there's a difference between people just directing you to do this, like almost to like a freaking T. And I have heard you say it, and again, like other mentors and education I've been like, here's something you can do, but also how does it feel in your gut? Or sometimes it's even like, if like a mentor is asking you certain questions to where you are still pulling it from within you, rather than just being like, almost like dictated at or told at.
There is something dangerous to a one-size-fits-all approach, and I'm a big fan of a strategy, a playbook, a blueprint. Like, those do have their time and place, but not for your entire trajectory of your career. And I think that's where people get so tripped up, is like they're being sold, oh, follow this to a T. I will solve every problem for you. They have these high expectations because that's what they were promised, and then they get to this point and they're like, did I even build something that I want to have? This is not hitting the expectations you told me it was going to hit. And how can anybody ever promise that? Everybody's going to be so different. And like, you can take education. I just think we need to come back to like sitting with ourselves and like being self-decisive and like knowing what is right for you and what isn't. That's an interesting thought about the influencer culture. And I think like it becomes that like echo chamber that people talk about. Like, you have your algorithm, and so you're being fed like the same thoughts over and over and over and over again, that we get so like resistant to anything different. But like, isn't that the importance of like being a human, is like hearing different perspectives, seeing different things? So it all just kind of
so much
weaves its web into every bit of that.
I think so. And I'm even kind of curious too, like, if someone does kind of find themselves in those positions, I mean, from your perspective, like, what is sort of like the first step to even pulling back and like, what does that even mean? Like, I can know what it means to me, but like, I guess just hearing it from you talking from that point, like what it means to you, like, I'm just curious.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say too, because I know what it means for me as well, but I think that here's what I find a red flag. And I even read to you a message, again, I'll keep identity, you know, anonymous, but I had a message from a Soul Tribe member who is opening a salon, and she sent me an Instagram message, and she was like, do you know of any like high level salon owner coaches? I know there's this person, and they're like $20,000 or something, and like is there anybody? I'm so scared I'm gonna fuck it all up. And I wanted to like kind of pop off. Sorry if you're listening to this, friend. I love you. And I was able to put my words together eloquently, and it landed with her, thank goodness, because it doesn't for some people. And I just said, like, any coach telling you that you can build God, there's so many different trajectories. One, you can build this exact salon like they did, and sure, it might be a tried and true method, but like, is that even what you want, or is that supposed to be theirs? Like, isn't that the point of this life, is finding what's ours and not what somebody else's? And then also it's like this perceived safety net that you think that you're like paying for. But in my opinion, if you're going to be investing that much money, like, do the work on yourself so that you don't need that perceived safety net. Because I can't tell you how many people get to the end of a course or end of a whatever guru life-changing thing they expect to get, and they're like, well, fuck, this isn't what I thought it was going to look like.
Yeah. And I think that is like the important thing too, is like, even in that message, it's like, I'm just so scared that I'm gonna fuck up. Yeah, you're gonna fuck up. Yes, you have to, like, you almost have to fuck up to, like, in order to like get to the next like leaps and bounds of where you want that to be.
And it's the similar feeling. And then we did connect on Polo after this, and I connected her with another owner who just sent me a similar message. I'm like, you guys need to talk. You have a baby, you come home from the hospital, and I remember it vividly. I was also young. I remember vividly sitting with Skylar in her crib, our dog just staring at us, me and Ryan just looking at each other, like sleep-deprived, hormones all over the place, and we're just like, who let us take this baby home? What the fuck are we supposed to do? She could die. Like, why are we allowed to do this? When you buy a house, you go through these like adulting things, and you look around and you're like, hello, is there a grown up around that can like guide me, because I don't know how I got into this position, or who let me do this. It's the same thing. Like, you think if everybody like could just pay $1,000 and get a perfect playbook, everybody would have a successful salon. It's supposed to be hard. That's what makes it worth it. Like, you're supposed to go through those struggles. You're supposed to learn your own path along the way, because that's literally the point of being a human. Yeah. Do you want to just like code your life and the rest of it just like plays out? Of course you're gonna fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's sad, because I know there's so many people who do get certain ideas, or they get certain thoughts about things, and they hold themselves back. And I'm saying all of this as someone who like is still in it and does this, and like,
but that comes back to expectation. You're never not in it.
Yeah.
Even when you're in a position to have these conversations, you're never not in it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But it's but it is sad to think like there's so many people who get in this space and like they get this like inkling of something, and they hold themselves back, and it's like it really does come down to just like, we get in our heads, we get anxious about it, we get scared about the what ifs, and it holds us back from a lot of like big risks or just changes or things like that. But then it's almost like, is that really worse than continuing to like sit in this space of like, where you know you're not fulfilled, you're not happy, you know there's something you're supposed to be doing, how many you're trying to find your purpose.
Like generation end of their career stylists do we also talk to too, that just said, it really wasn't what all I wanted it to be. I have some regrets. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. And so I think staying so aware of that in the moment, and that's why I am so big on like white space and big magic. And I know that was just my journey. That's my own story. It's so hard for me to like teach something outside of the story I've been through. But like for me, I can't tell you. Like, I had an idea one time of, like, okay, hairfluencer. I was going to, like, make a course. And it's like, here's how you work with brands. Here's your what's next. Because that was my what's next for a moment. Yeah. But it's like, one, if enough people do that, then enough people take it. And then everybody's doing the same thing. And it's no longer special. It's no longer your different thing. And I think this comes back to those stylists that I empathize with that are becoming educators, taking a course, saying the same thing everyone else is saying. Like, sitting and being patient and waiting and asking yourself, in waiting for an idea to the point where you can ask yourself, does this already exist? Am I filling a void anywhere? Because if you're not, while I empathize with you wanting to help people in a bigger way, unfortunately, you kind of got to wait for that idea sometimes that's that revolutionary or that different. And it's really hard to have these conversations with other people. We are both doing something so like that, you know? And somebody's like, well, what is that for me? And it's like, unfortunately, nobody can tell you that. But isn't that everything in life? It's just being patient. And like, then when the biggest, craziest idea comes and there's no course you can buy that teaches you how to do it, you just give up on it. Like, to me, that's, I don't know, purpose and like life being lived how it's supposed to be lived.
Yeah, because that's what I mean is it's like how many people had these like amazing innovative ideas that got lost or maybe moved on to somebody else because they were, you know, whatever happened. And because we always kind of like tell, I think, ourselves a lot of stories too of like, well, I'm doing this, like let me just kind of hold off on that, or oh, but I don't feel like I know enough about this. And like sometimes it does really mean like putting yourself in there, and you can feel like the dumbest person in the room, which is always a beautiful place to be also, because you just learn so much about what that journey is going to be. And I think this is where like expectations come in so heavily, is like, you can even sit and have an idea, and then you're already planning the expectations before you even started the idea. Like, that's just how it goes.
That's what you did. That's what I've done.
Yeah, but I think it's like, at that same time as like you're planning the expectations, I think it is so, so, so important to also plan for the uncertain at each expectation. And like, okay, here's the expectation, but like, plan B, C, D, E, F, G, and sometimes all the way to Z might happen too.
Or also just recognize that probably every time you're getting hard on yourself, is this an unmet expectation? And if it is, how can I undo that expectation? And like, this is a really weird way that these intersect, but I'll share on it really quick. Hopefully I don't regret sharing on this. But I've had on my vision board for the last like many, many, many years, expect nothing, appreciate everything. Gary Vee talks about expectations, and for some reason that lands really well with me. And I truthfully, I think every time we find ourselves upset, we can ask ourselves, is this an unmet expectation? I'm not saying, maybe this is like the very self-preservation in me. Like, maybe it is healthy to have some expectations of some people. But for me, I genuinely, truly have very little expectations from anybody ever, because then I won't be upset about anything. So like a very small example, when me and my sister like had kids, we would have these conversations where like our parents didn't show up as grandparents in the way that we thought they were going to. And there would be moments and times where I would like get really upset about that, or she would get really upset about that. And I think that's when I would hear Gary Vee saying that. I'm like, well, why do I have this expectation in my head? And so that can go for your spouse, that can go for your friend, that can go for your parents, that can go for any, this is just like a life lesson. Every time you find yourself upset about something, beating yourself up, doubting yourself, is this an expectation that I had, and who gave me that? Can I let that go? And then does that all of a sudden take all of this away? And we've even, now we're going really all over the place with the conversation, but like that conversation me, you, and Kristen had late at night at the retreat, we were even talking about like friends expecting so much of each other and like wanting you to show up for them in a certain way. And I think expectations are just like truly the root of like you upsetting yourself all the time.
Yeah. And I think even just to add to that, like, I'm someone who does put a lot of expectations on myself, like hard on myself. And so I know that there's probably some people who relate to that. And even like little things that are like so like my first several like podcasts that I was like guest starring on, which that's like a fun thing, you know? And I had such an insane expectation for like how it was going to go, how it was going to be, how it was going to be released. And there were so many technical difficulties that it never got re-recorded. I never like heard back. And I literally went home and was like crying in my bed because I was so defeated. And so sometimes it's like, for me, I think sometimes those expectations, sometimes they can be bad, but I think sometimes they can, in a weird way of the world, can be good, because I reflect on a lot of those things and I'm like, that needed to happen for me to like almost get to like refocus, because it was something weird happened after that. And it was like I was shifting what I would have talked about then wouldn't have even like been relevant like 1 week later. So it's really weird too. I think sometimes like we can't, it's hard, it's so much easier said than done to like not feel super defeated. But I think that's why too it's really good to reflect on those expectations because you never know. Maybe that was such an integral piece of your story that like needed to happen to get like where you're going.
And when you find yourself in those pits every time, just it sucks, but trusting that like this is going to make sense. And it almost always does. And I can't think of one person that has anything that they've built that they're proud of that is whatever we define as success that wouldn't say like I needed every single one of those shortcomings, those unmet expectations, those lessons, like I needed those to happen to teach me what I need to know today. So we find that come up all the time, and it's so hard as a coach because I obviously want to be able to support people, but there's so many times I'm like, and like that one girl specifically who was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep on trying and like eventually it'll click and it'll all feel good. And I'm like, stop. All right, we had a quick storage issue, so I'm kind of testing this, but we're gonna see. But that one situation specifically where she's like, everything's gonna click, I'm like, stop doing that. Like, stop telling yourself that, because do you agree? I mean, sure, there's times, again, you do enough things where they compound and you're like, oh, I'm kind of on to something. But I think it's a very false narrative that one day it's going to click and things are just going to flow. That's not how it ever works.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because I'm literally living that. I mean, I left it, and you probably saw like the Traveling Hairstylist episode, but I'm almost a year into that. And I can tell you, where I thought I would be at this point is literally not even a glimmer of the same of where I'm actually at. But I'm really grateful for where I'm at right now. And I'm still like, I can't really see where I'm at in 6 months from now. And there comes a point too, I think, like when you are in a building stage, like sometimes you do kind of have to just be like
surrender, really
open and let be what's going to be until there's like a moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to kind of like run with this a little bit because this feels good to me. Like something about this is like working. And then, maybe you get to a point where you can think a lot more clear about like going in the future. But I think it's kind of like everybody's a little bit different with that. And sometimes I think that the biggest thing is like you can have structure, you can have vision as long as it has an open vast field to live in, because like it has to like move and groove and shift and you have to kind of be able to like go with that rather than like letting it completely defeat you or be in that space where you're like waiting for something magical to happen when a lot of that has to really kind of come within.
And really, you can't like choose when those little glimmers of like, oh, this is happening. Like you don't get to choose when those are happening. So you just have to, I think, be really grateful for them when they do and lean into them and like savor them for what they're worth. Challenge will comes. And I think it's just like constantly reminding yourself of that will be helpful for people. I don't know. We've gone a lot of different directions. I hope this all does like come together and make sense to everybody. So we had education overload. I think that's kind of the most of what we wanted to touch on. So I think the main takeaways for stylists that I hope is that if you guys are hearing this and you find, and again, if you're not feeling this, let this episode go. Don't take on this stress if it is not already something that you're dealing with. And we just had a masterclass inside of Soul Tribe this last month where Kristen, who's in Leisha's Soul Tribe, she did like this social media detox. And I know Leisha really took it on too. And so that's been a conversation we've been having a lot inside of Stylist Soul Tribe. So one, I think for ourselves, obviously take what we have said, unplug, mute what you need to. You've heard a million people say that, but you have an interesting perspective where like, do clients also feel that? And then you were telling me this like TikTok rabbit hole. You kind of, should we go there? You kind of came down.
Yeah. I mean, and I think like the social media detox is really good even too, just like for a stylist point of view, because it is like really interesting how when you do step away from like getting that, like feeling like you're yelled out from like every angle, it is like a reset. It's a really nice reset. So I do feel like if you are in that place, that's a great first step to go to, is like literally completely detox. But I do think it's an interesting perspective of like, we've been feeling that. I've heard so many stylists who are feeling bored, burnt out, like don't know where like, Instagram's going, social media is going. And I can't help but to kind of also wonder if like clients feel that way as well, especially because it's become, I almost feel like Instagram has become like an hair industry podcast or like a marketing podcast, or like, not podcast, because
that's the algorithm we have. But really, it feels like people in our life who aren't in this industry do not have the same issue that we have. So there's definitely something happening in this industry specifically.
And I think like the thing that Lisa was kind of referencing with the TikTok thing that I fell down, I was watching a TikTok video and it was not even hairstylist related, but there was something mentioned about like going to a hair appointment as part of this girl's day or something like that. And I kind of caught this thread of comments and it was really interesting because a lot of people were really talking about how they felt like stylists are just charging to charge, like they're charging like, really high prices, and then like they have to spend all day at the salon, and it's like they don't really want that. But and then even too, just hearing, I heard specifically a lot of people even saying like, okay, well, here comes all the hairstylists who are going to go on and tell us why they charge this and why this matters and why they're doing that. And it was just like an interesting perspective to kind of hear. And obviously I like empathize from the other side because I'm like, no,
defense. Yeah.
But at the same time, like we do have to recognize that like truly our clients don't care about some of that stuff. So like putting out reels and things like that about like how you run your business or like product costs or like even like in the world of like our industry, like we're obviously the only ones that actually care about that. And I think just some of that has turned almost into like clients could be feeling like they're seeing this left and right and getting yelled at from like stylists and salons that they've maybe followed. And I think that a lot of like, clients or just people are feeling kind of like bombarded by just so much. And I think it's almost, I don't know.
Like when Instagram was fresh, it was like this exciting new space. We have all been on here trying to figure shit out, taking courses, learning how to do reels, using ChatGPT. We're all trying to play the same strategy in the same game, but it's almost like you just like leave all these people to their devices of like what is this going to turn into? And I do think it's just become this echo chamber, this regurgitated again and again and again. And we've all heard it. It's going to be me saying what other people have said. We've seen the posts about, don't shame your clients for how they come in. And I don't even stay on one side or the other. I think we're all just playing with our phones. We don't know what the right thing to do is. And like, again, I empathize for everyone doing that. But it was interesting hearing Leisha telling me what she was reading, because I honestly don't know if I would have dove as deep into that either. Like, I don't know if I would have sat and like consumed that as much. But I think all that just goes to say is like, it is an app on our phone. I know that's why you guys are listening to this podcast. That's probably how you like. So it is important, but in the same breath, it doesn't fucking matter at all.
Yeah. And I don't think any of that to like, again, like, because I'm still out here marketing on Instagram
reels,
and making
doing
reels.
What we can.
I think those things are important, but I think it's important. Like the whole point, I guess, of where I was even going from that. And obviously the TikTok comments I saw is a small percentage of like people. But I just think it's important to really reevaluate our customers' needs and wants, because we've gotten into this place of like you said, we're kind of like taking this information and maybe it's regurgitated, maybe it's built upon. And we have to also realize that like those things constantly change. Like our markets constantly change. Consumerism constantly changes.
And just like keeping your feet on the ground.
It's just being aware of that and us reassessing as we need to, and not getting too like you said, caught up with like things that said with the app, how you're coming across, but also just not too caught up too with like what we think that we constantly need to be like doing and putting out, and whatever spectrum that looks like. So I just want to add that in because I don't want that to seem like I'm like
totally. But when was the last time we stopped and just said like, let me put myself in my client's shoes?
Yeah.
What do they care about right now? And it is like going back to education. We've been learning for so long that we need to show up. We need to keep the algorithm primed. We need to hack all these things. We need to go viral. We need to do all this we really have like floated off so far that like we're not grounded in like, what are we doing all this for, And again, here's where I find a difference too, from my perspective, watching people. If social media is an outlet for you and it makes you feel good and you have fun creating it and that naturally comes to you, for the love of God, do that. You are the people who are like succeeding with it. If you hate doing it, like when we get on Soul Tribe calls and it's like, okay, what's your homework for the month? They're like, I guess I'm going to post 3 times on Instagram. And I'm like, do you want to do that? Like, why is that our homework? Like, if it feels right for you, if it's a creative outlet, if it feels like you're like getting your point across, great. If you're feeling like, I don't even know what to do, but I was just told that I'm supposed to do it, take a break. I'm not saying never do it again. Clearly, I built my business through social media, but like, we just need to come back to like what is working. And also there are successful stylists in my community where some of them are blowing up on social media. That's where they've seen their success. And there's some that are not on social media at all that are more successful than anyone else. So it's just, again, honoring what your journey is supposed to be, and that it doesn't have to be what everybody else is doing as well.
Yeah, totally.
Like, it feels like a lot of this should go without saying, but we just, again, we're in these rooms and we hear these same things come up again and again. And I just feel like sometimes we just have to, like, turn the lights on and be like, what are we all fucking talking about?
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, because, like, someone could be listening to this podcast, because I've done this before, too, where I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah. I'm, like, so inspired. I'm done with this. And then it takes, like, sometimes one moment, like maybe the next day, where I'm on Instagram and I instantly feel like, oh, shit, like, no, I should be doing this. So I think that's the moment. It's not when you're listening to this right now. It's, like, tomorrow when you're scrolling on Instagram. Make sure you take a pause when you feel that moment and really, like, reassess, just like everything like Lisa was saying earlier, and make sure it's right for you, aligned for you, what you need. Yeah. In Kristen's masterclass, she, like, really took it serious and she, like, had a strategy to it. And I was like, share this with everyone else. It really worked for you. And she set a time limit on Instagram for 1 minute, because that was the lowest you could do. She handed her husband her phone and she said, you put in the code, because I'm detoxing. I don't want to lose my drafts. I don't want to delete the app. But she was like, you put the code in. And so she could only go on Instagram for 1 minute. And it also made her realize how often she was just subconsciously clicking it. Because, again, we're all addicted to our freaking phones. And she said that there was a point that in less than 1 minute, because that's when the timer went out, she checked her messages. Like, is anybody messaging the salon? She's a salon owner. She needs to hear from people. She got a message from another owner that she looks up to, she's inspired by. And that owner had an auto response set up. And you know how Instagram's constantly changing, and some of you are like, I didn't even know they had auto responses. Somebody's like, yeah, I've had that set up. And in that moment, she goes, oh, of course she's, like, up to date on the newest thing. Of course I don't have auto responses set up for people who are messaging and she said that in less than 1 minute, she was already like, I'm not doing as good as this owner that I could be doing as good as. And that, like, you don't even sometimes notice that it's happening. It's just these, like, microscopic feelings that then lead to, I'm burnt out, I'm uninspired, I feel like I'm cranking my wheels and nothing's coming of it. And I just feel like sometimes we just have to, like, bring awareness to it and talk about it. Yeah. Because even too, like, I kind of followed Kristen's social media detox too. And I will say, even just, like, another perspective of that is, like, almost just like how we were saying earlier, how you can almost get too deep into your businesses and, like, your expectations. You can get too deep into, like, social media to where you're like, it's like a post analysis or, like, paralysis or whatever. And I felt like that for a while, and almost taking a complete week off and not looking at, not thinking about it. Coming back on, I felt kind of, like, re-inspired just to, like, make a bunch of reels and
like,
post.
Wait, I have my own creative ideas.
And I'm like, I don't even really care if this is, like, relevant, like, to what the trends are or whatever, but, like, and I put that out and I feel good about that. And, like, I didn't get, like, too in my head about that. So sometimes, again, I think it can go a lot of different ways with that. But yeah, it's all about just knowing when you need to, like, take a step back and take a moment. Yeah. Yeah. And we see so many people, again, in our circle. If this isn't the reality for you, great, I love that. But if you ever find yourself just feeling down and feeling discouraged and feeling like you're just posting for the sake of posting, you don't even know why you're doing this anymore. You don't even know what to say. You're like, oh, I got to plan my weekly post. Let me scroll Instagram and see what everyone else is doing and do a version of it. Why are we doing this? It's a crazy hamster wheel we've all found ourselves in. And sometimes we just have to be like, what's going on? Again, I say that in the exact same breath of, like, same. Like, we're all still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm not this, like, on my, high horse, like, telling you guys what to do. Same. I feel it too. I'm always trying to do it too. I just think it's empowering to talk about and hear other people say it. And that's what we find so many times during Soul Tribe calls is one person will say it and everybody will be like, same. And we're like, okay, so I'm not alone in this. Like, I feel what I'm feeling other people are dealing with as well. So I'm glad we got to touch on that. I feel like we kind of went over most of our things. Is there any other, like, major things you want to dive into? This has been just, like, a total chit chat fun episode, but I kind of dig it. We'll see how it listens back, but I kind of like it. No, I feel like we definitely gave a really good overview and even intertwined all three of those things really well. So, okay, so the last thing we're going to do when we wrap up, who knows if this is going to be something that continues, but I was, like, laying in bed one night scrolling TikTok, which I do way too much, and there's this, like, cute little TikTok trend. Maybe you guys have seen it. It's like the weekly report or the monthly report. I don't know if me and Leisha are going to do a quarterly report. I don't know how often we're going to do this, but it's like photos on TikTok that you, like, swipe through.
And there's REPORT. R is reading, E is eating, P is play, O is obsessing, R is recommending, and T is treat. And I love looking at them because I always want to know what people are reading. If you guys are anything like me, I get stuck on these like hyperfixation foods and stuff like that. So this is just silly. This is stupid. I may start bringing this to Soul Tribe episodes. I may not, but I'm going to have Leisha start off with her. We'll call it the November report, but I don't know when we're going to do this next. So what's your R for reading?
Okay, so this isn't what I'm currently reading, but I did just read, and this is an oldie book. Like, I think it came out in like 2017 or something, but it was like I read it at the time I needed to read it. But it's the book Unfuck Yourself, and it's by Scott. I'm losing the train of his last name.
That's okay.
But it's just, and it really kind of actually ties into this episode well, because it's really just about like embracing the uncertainty, like getting out of your head and like taking a step back and just like knowing that like it's going to work out and things. And it was a really easy read. And I think it was just, that was like my favorite read lately. I needed it at the moment. Yeah.
All right, how about your E?
Okay. So E for me is, so dark chocolate granola. I know that is like kind of basic, but there's this specific brand and it's from Hy-Vee, which is obviously like a local store here. I don't know if I can find this version other places. I forget. It's something like monkey something. I have no idea. But anyways, they just have like these like dark chocolate granola bites, and it's like my favorite snack. I'm just like, actually, no, I don't think it is. I think it's kind of mixed into the like, cereal section or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just obsessed.
You can't find it. I'll have to share some monkey granola.
Yeah, that's the only downside.
I know these are so stupid, but I love to hear these little things about people. I love it. Okay, so what is your P for play?
Okay, so recently my husband and I, we have never done like an indoor climbing gym, but there's a really cool one actually here in Bloomington called Upper Limits. And it was just so freaking fun. And like they turned these farm silos into these like, the climbing, and like they are almost like 70 feet high. It is crazy, but it was so much freaking fun. It was such a good workout. It was just like, you're just falling back like a kid. Like it was just like good, like, play that like time. Yes, totally. Yeah.
I've never even been there, so I need to go there. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Maybe we should. Yeah, it's really fun. It's super fun.
How about O for obsessing? What are you obsessing over right now?
Okay, again, this like feels like such like basic.
I like the basics. Tell me.
I just recently finally got on the like guava stone thing, and I think I literally just lay in bed.
Wait,
and I'm just
like guasha?
Or guasha, sorry.
Like, what is guava?
No.
That's like a fruit, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
The guasha stone.
The guasha stone.
Chinese, like, massage.
Yes. Basically just a facial massager.
Do you put it in the freezer?
Sometimes I don't always. I forget sometimes.
I have one, but I don't use it as much as
but I just like to sit in bed. I'll like watch shows, and I'm just constantly like, I don't know.
What is
like,
that,
what are you doing?
Drainage?
Yeah. But it's just like I really enjoy
basic.
it. I don't know.
Like this shit. Okay. What's your R for recommending?
This is kind of corny, but I put social media detox.
Love.
So again, we talked about that in the episode, but I do really, really recommend it. I think it's a really great reset that we all need at some point.
Yep. Okay, and then T for treat. What's your treat?
Recently, I treated myself to a massage, and I know that's like a common thing, but this specific massage literally was like the best massage I ever got in my life.
She sent me Marco Polo, so we get on a weekly call. We call it our L&L meeting every Wednesday morning. And we do like a check-in, like how are you feeling? Are you red, yellow, green? Like, are you overwhelmed? Are you good? And then we do like a segue. It's from the book Rocket Fuel. That's how I came up with these ideas. And so we always say like our personal and professional like wins or highs, just so we're staying up to date with each other's lives. And it was a low week for you. Like you were already like stressed. You were feeling not good. We were all kind of in a rut. There was a lot of people in a rut that week, myself included. And I remember she sent me a polo, and in the very next polo, I don't even think I like watched it yet, but she came in and she was just like, I don't care about anything in the world. Like, I feel so good right now. Everything I said, I take back.
Yeah.
That's all you needed was to reset with a massage.
I know. It was really good. Like, I've never had a massage where you almost feel like you're in like a euphoric state afterwards. That's literally what I was at. So the moral of the story of all of mine is I just need to make regular trips back to Bloomington for the climbing gym, the massage, and my dark granola treat.
She just needs to have like a staple living here. Or a vacation house, or maybe like an Airbnb or something.
I know.
Because I don't want her to leave me. Okay. My report, our reading, it does not go in alignment with this podcast episode at all. I've been reading Buy Back Your Time for a long time. It's actually my first. I'm on the last chapter. I'm about to be done. I don't know what book I'm starting next. and it's good. It was recommended to me by my friend Hunter. It is for like outsourcing and hiring, and it's just a really, really good perspective. It's a very actionable book. That's by Dan Martell, and I actually was reading it, and then it got gifted to me also at my mastermind, and I have two. Actually, do you want one?
Sure.
So I do have one. I was like, oh, I can gift that to someone. So make sure I give that to you before you leave. Okay. Reading Eating. My hyperfixation that I've been eating for a while now, and I'm just so obsessed with, is Good Culture cottage cheese mixed with like scramble an egg or 2 eggs with Good Culture cottage cheese. It like melts so good. It's super protein rich. Put that on a slice of sourdough in the morning. It's like my go-to. I fucking love it. Play for me. Leisha and I did a yoga class a couple weeks ago here where we're at, and that was my first yoga class I've ever done, but it was so much fun. And I'm like, I'm a girly that does yoga now. Like, I want to start doing this. So we're actually going to do one again in a couple of weeks. So highly recommend that. I had another one for play. What else did I? Oh, and another one for play. I have my daughter and I have been watching The Golden Bachelor. Have you watched that? No. It is.
I've seen like
so
commercials.
Fucking good and funny. Okay, in like the way that The Bachelor.
Okay, I was gonna say.
So I went down it was probably a few years ago. I was watching the regular Bachelor and I like got into a habit of that, and it was just like turn my brain off escapism.
Yeah,
it's so stupid when you're watching it. Like I say out loud as I'm watching it, this is so stupid. But the regular Bachelor, they would have to like artificially like make this drama, and so that made it so stupid. The Golden Bachelor is all like older people. So Gary, the guy, he's 73, I think.
Oh my gosh, he's 73.
He talks like Kermit the Frog. He's so precious and pure and good, and all these ladies are in their 70s. They don't have to fabricate any drama. It is so fucking funny all on its own. And Skylar, my 10-year-old daughter, loves it.
Does she really?
But Skylar loves old people. Like, she's so drawn to, like, she just thinks they're so cute. And like, there's another random tangent. My papa, my papa, Skylar's great papa, he's 92, is my last grandparent that's alive. My sister told me this yesterday and made me want to cry. My Aunt Shelley told her he asked for Lily's number because he wants to text Skylar and Lily and start communicating with them more to give him something to remember them by. So he has been having Skylar and him go back and forth with lines of the Gettysburg Address and text messages. Skylar loves it. That's why it's like so fucking funny.
Okay, but that's like precious.
So cute. Like, and the fact that my papa is 92.
Oh my gosh.
Sitting in his apartment by himself, and he's such a good texter. He sends emojis. He's so good at texting. And so he texted her, he's like, do you know much about Abraham Lincoln? She said, sadly, no. That's what she literally that he does. Okay, let's start. What he's the most known for is the Gettysburg Address. I'm going to send you a line, and you look it up, and you send me a line. It will take some time, but let's do it together. And then it's like 7 years ago. So then we were like, the Alexa asking her to tell us the Gettysburg Address. And Skylar was writing it back. So I think before long, I'm going to know the Gettysburg Address, which is the cutest fucking thing. Anyway.
I am freaking obsessed with that entire story.
I am too. So Skylar loves the Golden Bachelor. She loves watching these little old ladies with their cute little cringy, funny, precious, adorable. If you guys haven't watched the Golden Bachelor, it's so pure and hilarious and stupid and amazing. If you want to turn your brain off and like, that to me, that is play.
Gosh, that's so good.
Okay, what am I obsessing over? Oh, here's what I'm obsessing over. I'm going to go on tangents with all these. Okay, so I used to sometimes get my nails done, and I would always get a full set. Since, like, you know, we all were in middle school. We went to the mall, and we got a full set for $25. Every time I go into a nail salon, I kind of panic, and I don't know what to say, and I'm like, full set. Like, I just freak out, and because that's all I've ever gotten, that's all I ever know to get, and it destroys my nails, and so I get it sometimes when I take pictures. I try to keep up with it, and then my nails look like shit, and I, like, don't have good-looking nails. I've always, like, had this thing with my, like, they bend, they break, whatever. I got a gel manicure for the first time, which I know is no big deal to, like, 100% of the population.
But Lisa's a girl who gets gel manicures and does yoga classes.
Yeah, so, like, I walked out of there. And this guy was so nice. Rosemary Nails, we're shouting out all the Bloomington places. Jason at Rosemary Nails, he was so great. It didn't hurt. I'm usually like in pain at the nail salon. He was so gentle. My nails look so nice, and I just don't feel like grody, and it just feels really good. So I am a new human. I get gel manicures every 2 weeks, and I go to yoga now, apparently. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
I've really taken on a new identity. So I've been obsessing that. Recommending, I couldn't really think of anything. So what I'm going with is weightlifting. Ryan and I have been on a good groove. We have been working out so consistently, like nearly daily, every single day when he gets off work. We've been training together. We, do our own like split. We do legs, push, pull, and he's in charge. He's got all our PRs on his phone. I just do whatever he tells me to do. But I have been feeling so good. I feel like I've been looking good. We're on a good groove. And I've just been like consuming my own podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff. And like there is so much that ties back to weightlifting of like longevity, anti-aging, like your skin. And I know so many people, there's yoga, there's running, there's what are all these things. I just recommend that you guys all start some sort of weightlifting routine because it really is powerful. And I feel like on top of my fitness right at this very moment. And then treat, I have 2 different treats. The weekend of my birthday, I hung out with my girlfriends, the Fab Five, that I've been friends with for forever. And we all booked a trip to go to LA to visit my friend Kylie in April. So that was a treat. I'm so excited. We've always done like weekends since like 2016. We started getting together regular. Like we were friends when we were like 4. And then we would see each other every once in a while. And then Jacqueline's brother passed away in 2018 and we got really close again. And so we've just been like seeing each other regularly, but we've never done like a weekend trip. And this is going to be an extended weekend. And we're like flying on airplanes together. And it's going to be so much fun. When we were kids, we went to the Wisconsin Dells all together and that was fun. So I'm just like giddy to hang out with all of them. And Kylie, if you're listening to this, you probably are. We might get like a helicopter ride because Kylie's getting her helicopter license right now.
It's so freaking cool.
It's going to be so cool. I'm so excited. I'll probably puke if I do that. But that's a big treat. And then another thing that I'm treating myself to, it's in like a week and a half, I think, because I just got the notification on my phone to stop picking my face because I'm really bad at that. But I'm getting a chemical peel for the first time. Like I've gotten like the little ones with a facial, but this is like a full, it's called a VI peel. It's like a 7-day peel. And on day 3 and 4, your skin peels off like a snake. And I just love trying weird shit like that. I'll try anything once. So I'll obviously be posting on my Instagram story as my skin is peeling.
I know. I can't wait to see
I know.
the results of that too.
So that's my November report. I hope you guys enjoyed that little tidbit.
Yes.
And this was a fun episode. I can't think of anything else. Any other final thoughts from you?
No, apparently just watch Golden Bachelor is what we've learned.
Golden Bachelor. It's so good. And actually, it was on last night and we went out to eat.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of watching it, so me and Skylar are going to binge it tonight because I don't know if it's Leslie that one or if it's Teresa, but I think that it's Leslie. But we'll see.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Well, probably not.
By the time this comes out, it will definitely be
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for listening. Grateful as fuck for all of you. And thank you, Alicia, for these fun podcasts.
Thanks for having me on today.